Mexican Navy tall ship smashes into Brooklyn Bridge, shears off masts after losing power, 2 dead, 17 hurt. The majestic Cuauhtémoc, which has a crew of 277, mostly cadets, apparently lost power as it was sailing out of New York on its way to Iceland, and the current carried it into the road deck of the bridge around 8:30 p.m., according to Mayor Eric Adams and footage of the crash. The collision sheared off the ship's 147-foot masts, with alarming footage capturing numerous crew members dangling for their lives from the sails and booms after the boat hit the bridge, which has a max clearance of 135 feet. The boat was coming under the bridge, and there were sailors on top of the boat. The sails hit the bridge and then people were falling off of the boat's sails, said Elijah West, who witnessed the chilling crash at Brooklyn Bridge Park. It was crazy. We were standing under the bridge and we all started running. Then I saw people hanging from the sails. Police boats came around fast, about 5 minutes later. And then police guided the boat to the Manhattan Bridge and started the rescue. It was a shock. Numerous onlookers stood by the shore with cameras and filmed the ship's departure from numerous angles, and became alarmed as the tips of the masts toppled over one by one as they hit the bridge. "She's about to crash," one startled witness could be heard saying in the footage. OST. Ismari Romero, 43, said what was supposed to be a joyous send-off for the ship turned to screams as witnesses could see the still-moving ship with its sailors, many of whom were cadets, dangling perilously. "We were scared, a lot of people were screaming, a lot of people were crying," said Romero, who witnessed the gripping incident with her sister from Pier 17. "We were celebrating and we were saying goodbye and singing. We were all joyful, and they departed. And then they reached the Brooklyn Bridge." Harrowing footage from the scene captured panicked onlookers who were standing under the bridge bolting from the Riverside Park as the vessel drifted toward the grassy area. "I couldn't believe what I was seeing," said Aya Asen, a 33-year-old photographer from Crown Heights, who had just completed a proposal photo shoot at the park, where tourists gathered to watch the sunset just over the horizon. "For a moment, I thought the boat might somehow crash into the park area, where the people were. I started running away, everyone started running. Everyone was shocked, and then we saw a lot of police and heard sirens. I saw people hanging there." First responders scoured the waters following reports that crew members had fallen in, but sources later said no one had. Retired Navy Captain Alfred S. McLaren called the tragic incident inconceivable. "I'm dumbfounded." The former nuclear submarine captain said, "It could lose power and drift. So the question is just how fast were they going? But why didn't they use a rudder one way or another? One of the first things I would have done is drop my anchor or anchors." The mutilated ship is currently idle in the water while emergency responders work at Pier 16 to care for the wounded. It's expected to be moved to Pier 36, sources said. Those in critical condition were transported to nearby hospitals for treatment. Officials have not released the names of the 2 crew members who died. Fire officials warned motorists to expect traffic delays and road closures near New Dock Street, Water Street in Brooklyn. The bridge, which suffered minor damage, has since reopened to the public. The vessel, built in Spain in 1982 with the sole purpose of training cadets, was in New York City as part of a promotion for next year's Sail 4th Tall Ship event, which celebrates America's 250th birthday. The stop is just the third in the vessel's 8-month voyage around the globe, which offers the Mexican cadets the opportunity to flex their sailing muscles in environments like Jamaica, Iceland, Portugal, and more. This year's class boasts 175 cadets, the largest class the nation's Navy has seen yet. The classes are getting bigger and bigger. "We just keep getting more and more people," said Lieutenant S.G. Hugo Calvario, the ship's orthopedic surgeon. "We had to leave almost 40% of the crew to take on more cadets," he continued, meaning the trainees have to pick up the slack and take on more responsibilities. The Post watched earlier this week as they skillfully climbed the dauntingly high ropes and stretched across the towers of the ship's 3 masts to conduct what in English is known as manning the yards. A universal sign of respect that is done every time a ship enters a port. It is Expected to be one of 30 Class A international tall ships that will parade through the harbor on July 4, 2026, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said she was deeply saddened over the deaths of the crew members. The Mexican Navy released a statement after the wreck. During the sailing maneuver of the Cuauhtémoc sailboat in New York, a mishap occurred with the Brooklyn Bridge, causing damage to the training ship, preventing the continuation of the training cruise for the time being, they said. The status of personnel and equipment is being reviewed by naval and local authorities, who are providing support, the organization added. The Navy reaffirms its commitment to personnel safety, transparency in its operations, and excellent training for future officers of the Mexican Navy. There were many comments made. "I'm so sorry for all of those cadets. Tall ships are so beautiful and enjoyable to sail on. How could there be a power outage on the ship when we can see the lights when it hit? There appear to be tugboat escorts or some type of small boat on either side of the ship. Could no one see the danger? TBF, there can be a lot of reasons for that. Ships like that are often retrofitted designs with battery packs for some things and an engine for others, or it could simply be a mechanical issue for the rudders or prop, or someone could have hit the wrong button and none of the controls were responding, or it turns out to be something completely different. This is a little besides the case. But why is this ship here and YTF was it crossing to Iceland? It isn't hitting the news here for some reason. But Mexico is dealing with some serious issues at home with the cartels. Joy and celebration can turn to tragedy in a heartbeat. Prayers for the crew and their guests," another viewer said. "Hats off to New York City's world-class emergency response teams by land and by sea, always the greatest. The first and last thing anyone in command of a sailing vessel does before going under a bridge is to check the height of the bridge against the height of the mast and the state of the tide. I can hardly wait to hear what happened, because it absolutely shouldn't have happened. That's what ship pilots are hired to do. They know the harbors, the ships and board ships to navigate out to the waters. Then they go back to the pilot house and wait for next ship going in or out of harbor. What about you? What do you think about the issue we raised above? Please comment and let us know. Thank you for listening. God bless you. See you in the next video.